Spoken
I
name.
haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed of that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I've dreamed of waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Kent Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy N's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spoken name.
You wake up one morning after not reading a book since your school days and you decide to be a writer. With no good or bad writing to compare against your own. You just know how to write and anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. Hell, maybe they're jealous of your natural ability to craft the masterpiece. After all, most people need to learn through a combination of books, courses, critical feedback and workshops. Not you though. It's not their fault they don't realise your natural talent, but they soon will.
How to Write Wrong is the new book by Amanda Steele. The book, which is an interactive story, gives the reader multiple options throughout its story. The book can be purchased from Amazon.
Spoken
Thank
name.
you today for tuning in to Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up at the beginning of 2016 and as of recording has over 200 sessions in our archive. Although the podcast can be heard on Anchor, iTunes, Apple, Spotify, YouTube and literally 10 or 11 other networks, the full archive can be found at Spoken Label, all one word, spokenlabel.bandcamp.com. On Bandcamp, it is set as pay what you want, so you are entitled, if you wish, you can download it or stream it for nothing. But if you throw me a couple of pennies my way, it is always eternally grateful to help me maintain the operating costs and future running costs of this podcast. Enjoy.
Spoken name.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house. And I'm back on Zoom again today, and we're all across the seas back to Ireland again today. Now, I've been chatting to a few writers from Ireland recently, but this young lady I've got with me today, she's probably one of the longest people I've known in Ireland. And we were just working it out before, and I think I met her about 5 years ago originally, when I commented on some poems she put in a group, and we've been friends ever since, really. So, Daniela, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody, tell them who you are, and where you come from, and what started off your writing? We'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I'm Danielle Holian from the west of Ireland. I currently have 2 books out, and I've been writing as far back as I can remember, but poetry I've been writing kind of full-time and with more love since I was about 16. So yeah, I just started in groups where I met Andy, and ever since then, like actually sharing my work, I was like, okay, this is something I can do rather than just writing for fun. And yeah, I released my debut book in 2018, Beautifully Chaotic, and ever since then it was like, this is something I do have a big interest in. Just kind of with writing, my background, I studied media in college, so I did a bit of journalism, and it was something where I was writing as a whole. I just said it captivates my soul. So moving on from there, like I do songwriting as well, but it was just with the poetry. I just said to myself one day that, you know what, I need to be writing stories, to be trying to open up conversations about topics I'm passionate about, whether it's storytelling, like through poetry, or just poems that are in a collection that are kind of touching on things. But I do see from feedback online that if I write something, say, about love or mental health, that it does touch people in certain ways, and just that, like, it is enough for me. But I know progressing as a writer, especially coming from Ireland, I know a lot of people that keep their work secret, or they might share with family and friends and stuff, but I know my work is kind of meant to be out there, and just from the feedback as well, it does kind of feed into my soul that my writing is what I'm meant to be doing, even if it's just like current time.
Perfect. Yeah. Now, obviously, let's talk about. There's a few things I want to talk about with you today, because obviously, like people won't know. So I've known you we reckon about 5 years, don't we? Good 5 years,
Yeah.
certainly. So, like I said, it's always handy this because I can ask you questions I know off the top of my head that people won't necessarily know
Yeah.
about you. Now, obviously, like you said, we'll talk about your first book then, Beautifully Chaotic, first of all. Then,
Yeah.
so what made you want to bring this book out first thing? So I know it wasn't the first book that you wrote. So
Yeah, exactly.
tell us about that then. Why the journey of this book then, first of all.
Yeah, so Beautifully Chaotic was written in about 2018 and released in 2019. So I didn't actually sit down and plan the manuscript or say, you know what, this book is coming out in January 2019, like it did. But I was just writing that year, getting stuff off my chest. And it's more personal. So it was just my story, kind of told through poetry, from sexual assault, mental health, eating disorder, relationships, whether it's with my parents or kind of friends, ex-boyfriends, whatever. So I just kind of sat down that year. I needed to get an awful lot off my chest, but I didn't know until kind of mid 2018 that, okay, I'm actually working on something, even if it's just for myself, have fun, it's a project. And once it like came together, I knew the story I wanted to tell from the beginning, the middle, the end. And then it kind of came together. I left it down, and then one of my friends, she actually did the book cover, and she just came to me. She knew I was into writing. I was kind of telling her I might have a book, but I don't know. I didn't know, like, going into the publishing world, that I would need like a book cover designed by someone. And just all these little things. So she just came back to me with a book cover. I fell in love straight away. And then I just went, okay, I have kind of the book cover, I have the manuscript, it feels right, it felt right with my soul, just to put it all down. And I had no expectations releasing it. But then at the time, I was working with a band, and they were planning on touring the following September in 2019. So it was kind of, I was doing the publicity and the PR and every media aspect. And we were kind of chit-chatting, being like, okay, if you release it in September, when my EP comes out, we can go on tour, you can be the spoken word artist opening up. And that was kind of how it was going. And then I was just messing online, and I woke up in January of 2019 with the book published. I woke up on I think it was the Friday, by the end of January, got the email, the book was published, and it's like, okay, now I have to do the marketing, telling people all these things that under pressure. I spent that year, last year, just focusing on getting people to read it, sharing the work rather than keeping it offline or whatever. And it did give me strength as a writer to kind of move forward that, okay, topics within the book, whether it's just like love, heartbreak, everyone relates to that, but it's going into it being like, okay, do I love myself? Do I hate myself? And it's kind of a journey where anytime I do reread the book as a whole, it's like, wow, I know it's my story, I know it's my words, but it just brings me back on that journey again, where I was in such a low point, to kind of finishing at kind of like, I don't want to say it was a high point, but being like, okay, this is where the story ends for my new chapter in life, and as a writer begins again. So it just kind of all came together so quickly, but in a slow process, that when I do look back now, I do kind of see 2018, okay, I was slowly working on it, but then waking up that morning to the surprise it was published, it was a good and bad thing, but it kind of taught me a lot of lessons to love your work, love yourself, and everything that will happen is actually meant to be that kind of journey.
Yeah, of course, yeah, completely. Now, what I want to touch on this book is what I love about your work is the fact, and this is why I think you were, certainly obviously the age where you did your first and second book, you were fairly, you could argue, fairly young in your work, is the fact it's very, your work is like, it's very brief, and I love the breath, it's the breathness of it really.
Yeah.
What made you want to do it in that style? Have you been writing that style all your life, really? Have you? Quite short,
No.
condensed pieces.
Yeah, no, I did start, like, before any of my books like became a manuscript or anything like that. I did go back to my earlier work, and I used to write in long form, pages upon pages, and just it made sense at the time that I was very young. I used writing kind of as my therapy. I wouldn't go to my friends or family or anyone being like, okay, I'm feeling just down today. I'd always go to my writing. And then it was, I think by the time I was about 17, 18, I was reading stuff online on Instagram. And I was like, this poetry is 4 lines. It's not pages upon pages. It makes sense. The point I'm trying to make, if it's a 4-page poem, somebody can make in a point of 4 lines. So it did kind of get me thinking, I will try this out, and if it doesn't suit me, that's fine. It's still there if I want to adventure through it again. But when I was writing Beautifully Chaotic, there is some long poems in it, but again, it's just 1 page, so it's kind of it's still the short length. But it was kind of the 4 lines. I know I might have short ones that have more lines, but it was just, for me, it was like, if I could say something that's important to me in half a page, in 4 lines, that's all that matters. Because I did find when I was trying to test my work out online, the shorter ones would capture people's attention, would get them commenting and like messaging me or whatever, than the long ones. And I could see, okay, people are online, they're strolling, they're not going to be paying attention. Oh, this is a long poem, I'll read this. Now some do, but it's kind of, if you're on your break from work, strolling through, oh, there's selfies here, there's a poem, there's a quote or whatever. So I was aware of that, but I just felt when I was writing my first book that the short ones actually worked for me. They made sense, and I did try to elaborate on certain topics that did make into the book, but for me it didn't make sense. And when I would test them, just reading them aloud to my sister or to anyone that would kind of listen to me, even if it was just online, that I did see they just didn't work at the time. And I was like, okay, I'll keep the longer poems in the book once they make sense to me and to the story I'm trying to portray. But it was kind of the short ones, they just kind of make sense in short term. But like, I just knew, kind of doing the background in it, it was like, okay, most famous poets do that as well, where they're kind of quote style but known as poetry now. But I do kind of prefer the longer ones, where it's like, okay, I can actually express more in just storytelling itself, rather than just like 4 lines and that's it, that kind of thing. So both do work, and I do adore both. But it's kind of, I think once I'm actually sitting down and even writing poetry now, it's how I feel on the day, it's how I feel in the moment, whether I want to express everything or keep something back, that it might be like a part 2 of the poem, or it might just lead into something in time. But generally it's kind of like the way I write, it's raw. I don't really like to edit pieces down, because anytime I do, it's kind of, it just takes away the meaning, like for me, just in general. But yeah, I think just from like online, like I know a lot of people have picked up my book and read it, and it's kind of mixed, where they like the short ones or they like the long ones, poetry. So it's kind of, I know for me, I have to meet my own needs as the author of these books, that it's, okay, if something works, it works. If it doesn't, I know there's still people who will find me in time and say, okay, I do prefer whichever ones. But I, like in the book, I don't think there's a good mix, like say half and half, or more of the longer ones if you pick the book up, or the shorter ones. But I just did see, like in general online, I was getting more feedback on the shorter ones. So it was kind of just taking everything into mind. How am I when I'm actually reading other authors' books online, or if I pick it up? So just taking everything into account. But then on the other side, it was like, okay, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to kind of prove in these pieces? And then it was kind of just the short ones. I could say whatever in 100 words that I could say maybe in 50 or like just in 4 lines, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's what I like about your work is the brevity, like you said with that. So, I know you did your first reading last year, was it, in the bookshop?
It was my
Was it
first
before?
official one with the book.
First official one,
It
yeah.
was February. Yeah,
February. And I
February this
noticed,
year.
yeah, how did that go then? Because obviously, there's a big difference between talking on the
Yeah,
podcast like this, isn't there?
yeah,
And doing
yeah.
a reading like that. Because I've been reading for years now, and it doesn't faze me a lot. But I know what Amanda was like when she first read it, terrified her. How did it go for you then?
I have read, like in school, I was in a few writers groups before, and I'd get up, I'd stand, I'd read out my thing, but I always knew I could sit down. And going to this reading there in February, I was very excited. The people who reached out, I was like, how do you know me? How do you know my name, my book, whatever? So it was kind of, I knew my work was getting out there. I knew if they had asked me, there's something special there and they're taking me seriously. So I knew I had kind of a job to go to impress everyone, but kind of be myself and let my personality show to give somebody kind of the insight to me as a writer, but like give notice to the book. But when I went in, it was in a bookshop in Galway, and I love the bookshop. There's kind of, you go in and there's different sides, up steps, downstairs, whatever. And going in, it was packed. The room was full where at the top they had people sitting down, and once I got there, my sister came with me and we had to stand, and I just went up and I introduced myself to the guy over it, and I just explained I'm nervous. I'm not used to reading in front of that many people, especially a room that feels like half the city right now. But he talked me through. He was very nice. He gave me good advice just to breathe and slow down. It's not a race. So it was kind of, I don't know, I was kind of towards the end, and then there was people coming up like reading stories as well. So just hearing everyone and seeing their body language, and I was the youngest. So it was like these people were there doing it for years, and this is my first time. And I was just taking everything in and being like, I don't want any negative vibes right now. So once I got up, I introduced myself. I was shaking like a leaf, and I read my work, and just, it was like, okay, this is my one shot. I'm doing it for me. I could have told him no. But I got to kind of see other writers around the place and introduce them to who I am, to my work. Because I could just see, like, even from the reading, I didn't really relate to many people, but at the same time, it opened me up to other doors, to just not be stuck to kind of one format or one kind of just say writing about love all the time. That was like, okay, there's actually other things. Like, there was a mother talking about her son, and one day they had together, and it just, like, it touched me to not put myself into one box, that there's more out there. But I got through it. I didn't get any negative feedback, and being introduced to, like, standing there, I was just, as soon as I got off kind of the stage, like, I just walked down to my sister and I was like, I want to do that again. This is great. I would love to be doing more of that. Like, at the moment, like, I know we physically can't, but it just kind of opened my eyes that my poetry isn't just written in my bedroom or where I sit by the water sometimes, that it's actually going online, people are buying the book, and then I can go to, like, these events and show people, like, who I am, my writing, my words, and all these beautiful things. So it was kind of a blessing, but I do remember the nerves, and I know, like, February isn't that long ago, but I can just see in myself, I'm more confident that I know if I could do it again, I'd walk in the room, still be kind of nervous, but like, again, it's just kind of doing it over and over again, getting used to standing in front of a crowd, because I did, when I was younger, I did a lot of drama, I did a lot of plays in school, so I'm well used to, like, being up on the stage, dancing, kind of singing, like, talking away, and the crowd is there. So I do love the kind of performance rather than just writing and it ended up like on a post on Instagram, that I would love to do more of the performance, because most of like kind of my favorite like poets, they're spoken word artists that they do travel. So it's kind of, they do everything I want to do, but it's kind of, okay, I'm just starting out. I don't need to be traveling the world straight away. So I know the more I do and the more things that, like, it will open doors. It's just building confidence and actually wanting to do it.
Oh, brilliant. No, you made it right. I think it does this. I think you tend to find that as a writer, and this hit you here, is that you can write and it grabs you. But when you perform, if you at the end of it think it's either a case of don't do it again, or you know yourself you're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
And that's you're
Yeah.
definitely you want to do it again and again and again. I can't blame you, because
Yeah.
it's, I think obviously at the moment unfortunately we went straight to lockdown straight after, so which of course
Yeah.
caused you havoc basically, and that's caused me some problems as well. Right, so no, get available. Good stuff. Good luck with it, definitely. Now, what we'll talk about today is, and obviously, you've got a new book out, haven't you? Which has just gone up. And,
I do.
Yeah, fortunately, by the time this podcast goes live, the book would have been out for quite a little bit of time, because I'm operating on backlogs at the moment. But obviously, as of the 31st of July, your second book, The Dilemma, is out. Do you want to tell people a bit about this book then?
Yeah, so I wrote this book, The Dilemma, in 2017, and I knew going in I was just going to do storytelling compared to my first book, where there's a lot of stories and it does connect, but I went through something in 2017 that I just said, you know what, I actually need to write myself out of this situation and into kind of a better life, a better headspace, whatever. And I didn't really expect to publish it or whatever, that it never felt like a first book. So I just got to the point where I finished the manuscript, I felt lighter, and I was like, okay, people, like, I did share stuff online, so people started engaging with it. And it's kind of, for me, it's more of the love and heartbreak compared to my first book, where there's a lot of topics that a lot of people can relate on. But with The Dilemma, it just kind of started out where it was like, oh, I'm so in love with this person, this object, whatever you want to relate it to. Then it was kind of in the middle, I was just kind of realizing, is this good for me? Is this something I want in my life? And then it just got to the point where I was like, I am actually writing a book. I'm not writing in my journal like just like poems like I did for Beautifully Chaotic. So I knew kind of, okay, there's a storyline, there's a timeline of it. So by the time I actually wrote the last poem, I knew, like, looking back on my work, it was all, I don't know if the story was in me and it just had to come out, but I knew kind of the first poem moving all the way like to the end. So it just got to the point where since 2017, I did kind of, there was part of me where I was like, okay, just wait, don't publish it right now. There will be a time, but it's not a debut. And then I just got into my head that I had to write the best book for my follow-up book, and just reading all these, not negative things online, but doing my research, because it was already written before my debut. And I had kind of projects going on since school, or just competitions online, that I was like, okay, if I can go through these guidelines, write a manuscript, I can publish it myself, I can go to them or whatever. So I did have a few collections that were kind of just projects for that moment in time. But then with The Dilemma, every year since kind of the day I finished it, it was just stuck in my head. And I was like, okay, I need to get this out. People like it online. Then I took everything offline, because I was doing more marketing with my debut, that it was just, okay, I need to be real to what I'm doing presently. I can't go back on the past. I can't go like, okay, I'm doing this or other projects or whatever if it's not what I'm currently doing, and just kind of to ground myself as well. But then I just, like, when the lockdown happened for us, it was March time, that I did be like, okay, I can write a manuscript now, which everyone was on to me. You have to write the best book. You're going to come out of lockdown with your second book, and just all this pressure that I was like, no, but the dilemma is still there in the back of my mind. I kind of told a few friends as well, and like especially my sister, she's the only one who's read the manuscript back in 2017 when I finished it. And for her to enjoy it, that made it was a big deal for me, because I know, like, I do kind of test my work out on her, and if she doesn't like it or if it doesn't capture her attention, it's not good. People are just going to fall asleep or whatever. So everything like in the book, and I didn't tell her kind of the background of it. I just let her make up her own mind, and then we chit chatted about it. So it was kind of like March time. I was like, this book is going to be released, and I was going to release it later this year, but the dates never felt right. And then just over the last, I say, few months since we've been kind of slowly coming out of the quarantine and lockdown, I was there, okay, I'm happy being at home. I'm very creative. I've all these things. And like in college when I was studying media, I did Photoshop. So I was like, I'm going to design the cover. I don't need somebody coming into kind of my work world and telling me, you need to do this or that, whatever. I just kind of wanted a project to work on. And then my sister took the picture on the book cover. So I was there, okay, that picture was taken in 2017, the book, so everything, and I just feel like the cover, it does represent my mood in the book, or like the story I'm trying to tell from like beginning to end, that I do hope like people love. But it was just the last few weeks. I think I made the announcement at the beginning of July. It was kind of last minute, because I was going to make the announcement at the end of July for the book to be released later this year, and just thinking, okay, people are going back to college, the college magazines or whatever will be open, and I can contact people in relation to that. But it just, everything was like, nothing is aligning, but this date represents the book. And I felt I could wait to do it this year, or I could do it in years to come, but this book has to be done and ready for this date, and it is, and it's all completed and ready to go. It's just kind of waiting for the date to come and be in people's hands, and just getting the feedback like as a whole, rather than like the poetry scattered where you don't know if it's in the first chapter or the last chapter. So just kind of overall, like I like as soon as I wrote it, I knew it was my second book. I knew it wasn't going to be my first book, my third one. I just kind of knew in my heart that this would be kind of the second. So it was a journey to have everything kind of written in the format that things kind of happened. And rereading it now, it's kind of, because that was maybe I think 3 years ago now, that I have grown. I'm in my 20s now. I wrote it when I was 19, I think I was. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say a child or whatever, but as a really young writer, actually rereading the work now, I see how much I've grown, but it captures that time in my life where it's like, if I was to rewrite it now, I wouldn't be able to put my whole heart into it or describe certain things or whatever. So I do think it's the perfect time to release it. And just as a whole, the storyline, it did come together so beautifully that I don't know if I can ever write another book with that kind of storytelling, like compared to like my debut, where like there's 4 chapters in my debut and it is a journey to go on, but I just found there's no set storyline in it, that the things like happen from the beginning, the middle and the end, obviously, but it's kind of, they're all over the place. Where with the dilemma, like I do think it will take the reader on a journey. They can read it once and then go back to, like, there's 3 chapters in that one. So if you're feeling the love, if you're feeling the breaking, the healing, there's a chapter for whatever you're feeling. And I do love that, even about other books that I've read, that it's kind of, there's something there for everyone.
Yeah, of course, perfect. Now, last bit, obviously, we're going to touch on today. I know that you were telling me off mic before. You're currently working on your third book at the moment, aren't you? As
I
well.
am, yeah.
Yeah. What can you reveal about your third book at the
Wow.
moment? I know it's always a tricky one that we do. Work in progress.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I did start writing it last year, so I have a document on my laptop that I've just been collecting poems, but I do know it's kind of like my debut, like touching on mental health, sexual assault, stuff like that. I know I am trying to work on, like, with myself, that okay, what did I need when I was going through this? What, or like getting time away from these situations, how have I healed, or how have I grown, or whatever. That I know everything's a learning process, but I know, like, I have the title, I have kind of the stuff, like the chapter names, so I know kind of the format of the book, but actually to sit down and be like, okay, what exactly do I want to say? What, like, even like having my two books written now, it's kind of going into a third. I don't want to be kind of, oh, I expected that, or I knew that was coming. Like, I do kind of like the essence of surprise, even from other authors I know. So it's kind of, there is a lot that I've written in the document, just for like book 3. So I have a lot, but at the same time, it's, I don't want to be cliche. I don't want, like, even my close friends and family to read it and say, we knew you went through that, you said everything, or like, I want the essence of surprise, that it's kind of what I write, it gets you thinking. So it's not, I don't know, without like trying to give everything away, but I do have a lot that I know I could finish it now, but I know, like, kind of in my soul, it's the same with my first 2 books. I knew when they were done. I knew when I was finished writing the story, that I could just kind of put that away. But I have been writing it almost 2 years now, so I am hoping it will be out next year, and I want to do more with that. Hopefully the world will be better at the time. So there is a lot, because even with my debut, I wanted to talk about mental health in any aspect, relationships, whether it's toxic or the best loving relationship, like self-love, and, like, again, sexual assault and stuff, that I know it is close to my heart, that I needed to read these things when I was younger, to know I'm not alone, that somebody else is going through this, that there is all these different aspects to life. But I just find there is pressure with this new book that I'm currently writing, and I'll go to my close friends, my sister, and just be like, okay, can you read this poem and tell me how you feel about it? You don't have to relate to it, just tell me if this is something the world needs right now, or whatever. And I'll always, like, the people I share my work with, I do trust them. But most of the time, like most of both my books, nobody had read before the manuscript was written. And then when I started sharing online and with other people, it was kind of a different story, that, okay, this is actually done. You like it or you love it, and it's up to you, whatever. But I do feel kind of more like of a responsibility with this book, with topics I've chosen, to kind of do it justice, rather than, oh, this happened to me, or I know so much about this topic, and then when you read it, it's like, no, you don't. So it's kind of like, with everything I've been through, experienced, I do write from my personal experience. I know when I began writing, it was like, even when I was a child, if I just wrote short stories or songs or whatever, it was from somebody else's perspective, like, oh, I'm in love. I'd never experienced a relationship at that time, so it was kind of all in my head that I would try to be like, oh, I will experience this one day, but this is how I'll experience it, or whatever. That I know, kind of writing my third book, there is a lot, I have a lot written for it, but it's kind of just narrowing it down to be like, okay, what do I actually want from this? because maybe like if I go on to do like a book 4 and so forth, I might be able to go back to the storytelling, like The Dilemma, and or maybe like a novel, or go into film or something, that like just the media and the entertainment, the creative world, my mind is, it just goes off like into a tangent. But yeah, with book 3, it's I think it's the most important thing I've been writing, even just for myself on this kind of healing journey, that it's like my eyes are opening. Like with Beautifully Chaotic, I went through so much writing it, but I was still in my shell, still in my own head, whereas now I can see the growth, and just kind of opening my eyes that there is more in the world, that I don't kind of have to be like kind of in my box room all the time, that I can go out for a walk, write some poetry, dive into like who I am with myself, rather than kind of calling my sister up or feeling, okay, maybe I need to go to talk to someone, or whatever it is. That I know writing for me, it's always there. I'm able to figure out kind of everything with it, but it's just kind of sitting down, and it's been 2 years now writing it, that I'm kind of giving you a straight answer, but at the same time, there's just so much I'm talking about in it that I want it to make sense. Like even if it's just the storyline or the timeline, okay, this is I don't know, like this is where I was broken, this is where I was healing, and this is where I am now, that kind of thing, that I know maybe like in 10 years when I reread all my books, be like, okay, I was young, I went through this, I was able to document it, release it, show people like who I am as a person right now, and just see the growth kind of thing. But it's like with my work and anything I do, like with the media work, I do feel the responsibility to just kind of use my voice for the greater good, and not just, oh, I'm in love, or I'm going through a breakup or something. That I do feel like, just as myself, that I'm worth more, that like my voice, I'm able to get things done, I'm able to kind of make improvements with stuff. So I do really feel all that kind of weight on me to do the book justice, that when it's out, that people can just read through it, and it's not like, it won't show I'm a one-trick pony, because I know I'm a woman of many talents. So it's just showing different areas of me, but at the same time using my voice for the greater good.
Perfect. Okay, well, you've answered all my questions beautifully there today. Now, is there any links you want people to go and look at if they want to find out more about you?
Yeah, so my Twitter and my Instagram is just Danielle Holian _, and my Facebook is Miss Danielle Holian. So even if you just type in Danielle Holian on any platform, I'm on them all, and you'll see me.
Perfect. Okay, now I know you're going to do a few poses now, Daniela. So what we'll do is we'll let everyone take a quick break and let you get yourself composed. Hang around, everybody, because I'm looking forward to this. See you all in a minute.
Spoken Layer.
Hi, guys. Straight over to Daniela. She's going to do a couple of poems from both of the books for us. Over to you, Daniela, my friend.
This one is called 4 Walls. Once I close my eyes, the flashbacks come to haunt me. I am frightened, lying awake in the silence as I watch my room fill with dust. The memories flash through my mind to remind me I was once never alone. And as I close the doors, it's just me and these 4 walls.
Perfect. Great start, that one. Great start. Okay.
This one is called Community. I never had a community around me. Everyone left just as the world crushed at my feet. No one stayed around me to help pick up the pieces. They were not capable of coping through tragedy. They acted like life was a movie, only sticking around for the good things, instead of loving me through the difficult circumstances, not thinking, one day this could be me. No one shows up for me.
Beautiful, beautiful.
This one is called Wake Up Call. All the abuse I suffered found me becoming an abuser to myself. I thought I deserved every beating, but I got a wake-up call. It's time for me to make up for lost time and mend old broken roads. I once burnt.
Great stuff. Okay.
And this one is called Where I Leave You. In the debt of our past, in the beautifully chaotic present, in the weight of our future, with the love, the loss, and everything in between, this is where I leave you.
That's a good one, that one. Danielle, is that like, you can imagine that been like a last poem in a book, actually. Was that a possibility at the time, that was it?
I remember writing it, but I don't remember like why I added it or just anything. It was there. It wasn't a filler poem or anything, but it was just there. I don't know kind of what inspired it. It was just like coming out of something. I was like, I'm done with being treated bad. I'm done with whatever. This is kind of where I leave you right now, and then I'll walk on it. So it was kind of, it was just kind of really sad to write, like in the realization that I am okay, but I do need to kind of move forward, because for me it's like I don't move on. It's just I just stop, put things to bed, and then move forward, that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course, get it completely. Now, obviously, people are interested. Those first 4 poems were from Beautifully Chaotic, weren't they?
Yeah, beautifully chaotic, yeah.
Yeah, and I think your other 4 you can do now from your new book, aren't they? So just to clarify, so people are interested.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, so I'll read from The Dilemma, my new book now. So this one is called Finding Us. I have reclaimed my life while finding our love in a peaceful yet chaotic state of mind, like atoms made to function in a love-hate world.
Brilliant.
This one is called Boy to Man. You stepped up being a man, taking over from a boy and his foolish demands.
Great. Yeah, are these poems getting shorter here?
Yeah, I didn't realize when I was choosing them, I was going all over the book, and yeah, I think the next few are a few lines longer. Yeah. So this one is called My Other Half. Finding you was like realizing I was missing something huge in my life. Arriving home in your eyes, belonging to someone, something I was yearning for, my other half.
It's great.
And this one is called Past Life. We conceived a life birthing these pages written openly. The erotic events in love and heartbreak, the love-making in love and lust, the heartbreak in words kept the past alive.
Brilliant. Yeah, the tones, you can see that the tone's different in your 2 books, actually. Definitely that one there.
Yeah, just kind of as the writer of them, it is weird, if I can say that, weird to see, like just even my tone, and then going back over, like even with the 3rd book I'm writing at the moment, it's like the tone is different, but then going back to me, it's like I can see how much I've grown, but I'm still the same writer.
I think you are. I think you like it. I think you are. It's, as a writer, you're still going to be, you're honest in yourself, but it's just your experience is changing as a writer, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want to do this 1 or 2 more from your new book then to conclude?
Yeah. This one is called Stung. And sometimes love stings, like a tank of jellyfish, but you jump into it knowing this anyway, hoping you won't get too stung.
Brilliant. So give us 1 more to conclude then. I think that'll be a good time.
Yeah. This one is called Grace to Heartbreak. There's grace to heartbreak, the aching pain, longing to discover myself. The tragedy of losing sight of what was in front of me makes me believe this love is for the best. Loving you from afar won't break me. The conversations came to an end. The painful memories now teach me how to love rather than hate. And this is the start of a new age.
Great, yeah, and I think that's a really good way to finish that, Daniela. Obviously, just to clarify, if people are interested, obviously, your books, they are both available, or the first one definitely is, and I presume the second one will be as well. You can pick them up in all good bookshops, really, can't you? Including Amazon and the usual places.
Amazon, yeah, just Amazon at the moment. I am trying, like at the moment, to get them in bookshops, But Amazon, like, doesn't matter if it's .com, .uk, because I know people have kind of an issue with that. But it's on the links are on my social media, or even if you just go into Amazon itself and type Danielle Holian, both my books, it comes up, and I'm still surprised every time.
Oh, I bet you are indeed. So, but it's been brilliant today. Thank you, Daniela. People want to know
Thank
this.
you so much.
Like the first time we've been talking regularly on Facebook with us, we said 4.5 years. But we never actually spoke a conversation before. It's been wonderful tonight. Thank you. Really enjoyed it. So hang around. I need to put you off mic. But this is Andy N. Thank you again. Take care, guys and girls. Stay safe and stay over. See you soon.
Spoken, mate.